Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Beyond 280. My name is Scott Allison. I am your host for a new and improved Beyond 280. I guess we'll see. We'll see if it's improved or not. So a little housekeeping before I start. So again, I'm Scott Allison. This is Beyond 280, and for those of you who have been watching me for a little while, maybe you've been watching me on Facebook or YouTube. Some things are changing. So the first thing I want to say is that I tried Facebook. I tried to use it. I tried to push it. I tried to use this, the Facebook platform specifically to grow the audience a little bit. And in the very beginning, it seemed to work, and then it kind of tailed off pretty quick. And then I found when I started streaming to YouTube, then I started growing a little bit more. So I've decided to make tonight's stream my last Facebook stream. Now, my Facebook page isn't going away. In fact, I'll probably start using it to post a bunch of stuff and obviously post links to the YouTube stream. But I'm not going to be streaming on Facebook anymore after tonight. So that's one housekeeping item. The other housekeeping item is that you may have gotten used to coming here on Monday and hearing me talk about things that are a little to the right. And that is still going to happen, but it's not going to be just on Mondays. I'm mixing it into anything. In fact, it could just show up at any time, and you'll be caught by surprise. So, and the third thing is that the interviews that I'm doing are not going away either. But I'm not etching those in stone. I'm not doing those on Wednesdays anymore. I'm doing them as people are able to come on the show. So I've got a couple of people in the works right now, so hopefully we can get those squared away. And so it may be on a Monday, it may be on a Wednesday. I may end up having to do it on a Tuesday or Thursday or Sunday or something. The point is that when I was trying to schedule these interviews before, I found it really hard to get people to come on at a very specific time slot, Wednesday night. And so I decided to go ahead and just mix it in, right? So just stir the pot, basically. So this is, David Foster told me this morning or this afternoon that this was me restarting or pivoting, and it's really not, because the content isn't really changing. I'm just meshing the content a little bit together and dropping a platform. That's basically it. So again, thank you if you're a first-time person here. I'm so happy that you're here. I got a few viewers right now, so I'm hoping to see more of y'all. As always, I'm a member of the Creators Guild. You'll see here, they call me an ambassador. I guess that's cool. No, it's very cool. And I'm an ambassador of the Creators Guild. If you go and check out the Creators Guild, it is an awesome community of people that are getting together and learning about creating content or learning more about creating content, sharing their knowledge, coming together, about the tech, about, the monetization, about strategies. It's fantastic. And it's free. That's the other thing. It's free. Come and check us out. We would love to have you. And yeah, so let's get right to this, shall we? One other thing, since I will be going to YouTube, exclusively, if you're already here on the platform, come on over and hit subscribe if you would, please. Subscribe to my channel, hit that bell so that you're notified when I do go live, because like I said, some of my interviews are going to come at odd times, odd days, and I'm hoping that people start showing up for those odd days, because they're not going to be used to that. So we shall see. We're going to see how this works, kind of a work in progress, if you will. It looks like we got a couple people saying hi. We got Danny. Hey, Danny. How are you this fine evening? Your picture looks different from your. You normally have your cat ears. So, and we got Alex here as well. And for some reason, the comments came up twice. That was weird. We got Alex from the Politics Show here as well. Great to have you guys here. I'm just going to get right into it. So, as I stated, my content is merging a little bit, so today's going to be an interesting experiment. So I want to keep my content as timely as possible. So it's very difficult for me to schedule topics out ahead of time. And the reason why is because my content really focuses around Twitter. And as you know, trends on Twitter are just constantly recycling. It's new stuff trending all the time. And so I find it difficult to say, I saw this thing on Sunday. By the time I get around to Monday afternoon, even, it's no longer a thing and no one's even talking about it. So, yeah, so I'm trying to be as timely as possible. So what I have a day job. So for everybody who wanted to know that, I do have a day job. And I have a monitor way up here. And on that monitor, I keep Twitter open. And so I'm working throughout the day, and I'll glance up at Twitter, see what's going on, and work throughout the day. And this one caught my eye today. So there's a trend called 53% of Republicans. I was like, okay, I wonder what that's all about. And so I started to, kind of drill down a little bit into that and try to figure out what in the world is this weird trend. 53% of Republican. I couldn't find anything at all. So, check that out. So we got everybody over here on YouTube. Sweet, appreciate it, Alex. So I'm again, cursory view, just in the corner of my eye. I'm seeing this trend, and I don't really have a lot of time during my workday to really go and start digging into it. So. At lunch, I sat down with my sandwiches and my Ruffles and my water, and I cleared my desk out, and I just started going through Twitter and seeing, what's this all about? What is this? What's going on with 53% of Republicans? Now, and one thing to note, I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a Green Party guy. I'm not a communist. I don't subscribe to any party. I never have. I've never been interested in subscribing to any party. Now, when I was a liberal, of course, I voted Democrat, and I thought, that maybe I would want to join the Democrat Party. But as I started educating myself about the political system in our country, the United States, I realized that I don't want to be a part of any of these assholes' party. I just don't. There's not a single good one out there. You can argue with me if you want on that. You can put that in the comment and let's talk about it. But I don't like any of the parties. So sue me. So just full disclosure, I am not a Republican. So that's why I found this pretty interesting. I'm like, wonder what this means. 53% of Republicans. So let's take a look at this. So the top hits here are pretty interesting. So here's a cartoon. It says 53% of Republicans. No thanks, I'm a Trump supporter. And it's a arm going like this, and I guess that's God handing a brain to human being, and no, I don't need a brain, I'm a Trump supporter. Okay. Haha. Kind of funny. And here's another one. 53% of Republicans are too fragile to live in reality. So if we, take a closer look at what this little meme is. No, Bert, you stupid asshole. There was no storm. There was no Kraken. You donated to a con man's grift and followed his orders. Now you have no money, no job. The con man called you a terrorist on TV, and the FBI are at the door. Frankly, I hope they put you in front of a firing squad. If it was treason, Bert, it was fucking treason. I don't know what any of that means. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the Palmer report, and I'm not really sure who the Palmer report is. I think I've maybe seen a couple of their tweets before, but they say 53% of Republicans is about 11% of the country. That seems a little high. But who gives a damn what they think about the election? Small enough to be irrelevant, 6% of the country thinks that the moon landing was fake, and we ignore them. Come on, media, stop taking poll numbers out of context for headlines. Yeah, so, yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Alex says the left really can't meme. Yeah. And he also said 93% of Twitter statistics are made up by Barney Stinson. So Santiago Mayer says, 53% of Republicans are in a cult and would kill themselves if Donald Trump asked them to. That's a real loving take. 53% of Republicans, give me liberty, then give me plague. Plagued, we stand. days later we fall. Make plague great again. It's interesting. I'm pretty sure that 53% of Republicans who believe that former guy is the true president right now are the same ones who thought that giving him hundreds of millions of dollars after the election was going to save America rather than just pay off his personal debts. Okay? So this was, I saw a tweet similar to this earlier, and this is what kind of clued me in. 53% of Republicans believe the former guy is the true president. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so let's dig into that. So it's somewhere, there must have been a survey or something, a poll that was released that found this really interesting 53% of Republicans think that the former guy is the true president. All right, so I had to do a little digging. I had to go and do some searching, and what I found, the first thing I found with any that was relevant to any of this was by a fellow named Heath Mayo. IPSOS or Ipsos poll. By the way, Ipsos is pretty sure they're loosely related with routers. Anyways, the 53% of Republicans believe that Donald Trump is currently the true president. Okay, so, and they even have a link to the poll here. So if we come over here and we take a look at this poll, and then here's kind of like the top line findings, right? How do we get rid of this stupid sidebar? I don't want no stinking sidebar. There we go. So the kind of the top line findings here are in this paragraph, but this poll particular is called The Big Lie. The Big Lie. So it sounds right off the bat, this poll sounds extremely non-biased, I would think. So, real quick. So, whenever I take my show, and we're looking at Twitter trends and whatever, you're going to know when I go a little to the right because I'm going to do something like this. So now I am truly a little to the right. So now I'm going to give you my full-on take here of what's going on in this story. So, as I said, this is crazy. The Big Lie. This is what this is titled. This poll is called The Big Lie. No bias at all whatsoever in that statement at all. This is awesome. Over half of Republicans believe Donald Trump is the actual president of the United States. So with that, I'm going to turn on my bullshit unicorn. Actually, he's in the wrong space. I'm going to put him in the right space. So we're going to put my bullshit unicorn in the right space there. That's my bullshit unicorn. He goes off. He starts whinnying and standing up, or maybe it's a she. I'm not really sure. Whenever it detects bullshit. And this poll really reeks of bullshit. So the top line findings, this is from the 21st, so this was 3 days ago. Former President Donald Trump's stronghold over the Republican Party remains. Okay. No. His refusal to concede the 2020 election and calls of widespread fraud have raised doubts about the integrity of its results among his Republican base. Consequently, 56% of Republicans believe the election was rigged or the result of illegal voting. That's a pretty broad statement. And here's that 53%, think Donald Trump is the actual president. And then they compare it to Democrats and independents. And then as a result, 87% of Republicans believe it is important that the government place new limits on voting to protect elections from fraud. I would love for somebody to, if anybody is out there, want to put it in the comments, can somebody please send me a link to legislation where Republicans are putting forth any kind of legislation, anything, a bill, just an idea that they want to place new limits on voting. I would love to see that. Go ahead. Anybody? You're not going to find anything. You may find something and say, look, this is, voter suppression, and it's a voter ID law. That's not voter suppression. So this poll, well, let's take this. Let's think about this for a second. So Ipsos is a data company, right? They do data, and they also do polling, and they're not biased at all. There's no bias in this company whatsoever, unless you're talking about, this guy. This is the chairman and CEO of Ipsos. Yeah. The gender equality fight is a matter for every day, not only on International Women's Day. On the workplace, it is essential to be aware of potential unconscious or cultural biases against women, against their contribution, their compensation, and role on a daily basis. We fight this constantly. This, my friends, is a virtue signaling leftist. So I'm really doubtful that Ipsos is a biased data company, or unbiased data company. Sorry, my bad. So this statements like this from the CEO himself show me that he's not going to have, he's not going to be unbiased about anything. So let's go back to this poll. So if we go back to the poll and we start looking at the questions, by the way, in the top line findings, they don't really list out, how many people they polled, anything like that. We'll get to that in a minute. But one of the things they do talk about specifically, they ask, well, first of all, this is the fully annotated questionnaire. Thank you. This was actually pretty thorough. So we can actually start looking at it. So which party do you most identify? Which political party do you most identify? Summary. Are you currently registered to vote in the 2020 presidential election? Who did you vote for? What comes close to your view of the 2020 election? It was legitimate and accurate, the result of illegal voting and election rigging. Don't know. Right. So 55% of all respondents say that it was legitimate and accurate. 86% of Democrats said that it was legitimate and accurate. 25% of Republicans say that it was legitimate and accurate. So that's a pretty low number. It was the result of illegal voting on election rigging. So you would expect this number to flip, and it does quite a bit. So 25% of all respondents say, no, it wasn't. I mean, it was a result of illegal voting or election rigging. Democrats, of course, 5%. 5%. What I would find interesting, and I didn't have a chance to go and look at the numbers a little bit deeper on here, but the Ipsos poll is very clear that Democrats, the winning party, there was no fraud, whatever. So I'm wondering if in 2016, when the shoe was on the other foot, and we were all talking about Russian collusion and all this stuff, what that number looked like. I bet the Republicans were at like 5%, and the Democrats were probably even higher than 50%, 56%. So, yeah, so that's that number there. It's pretty interesting. The don't know category, about 20%. And then question number 6, the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statements? So let's see. Republicans think that, or strongly agree that 39%, that's 39% of Republicans believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And only 4% of Democrats. Of course, this is what I would expect. Oh, by the way, here are the numbers. 2007 respondents, 909 Democrats, 754 Republicans. So it's all great. To what Donald Trump should not run for president again, 16% strongly agree, Republicans 81%. That's actually pretty remarkable. 81% of Democrats don't think that the president should run again. Or, sorry, Donald Trump should run again. Yeah, I thought that number would be a lot higher. Yeah, Alex says 93% of Dems think Russia won in 2016. So, as you can tell, my bullshit meter is still going. My bullshit unicorn is still going off here. In fact, just for grid, we'll go ahead and hide him for now because we all know this is bullshit. To what extent do you agree with or disagree that Trump is at least partly to blame for starting the deadly January 6th riot? Of course, Republicans are, say, 12%, and of course, Democrats, 73%. So far, there's nothing surprising here. And then, how many, was it peaceful? 23% say, yeah, it was peaceful. Mostly peaceful, law-abiding citizen. Only 4% of Democrats. And what about the BLM and Antifa? I bet that number would be quite a bit different. The January 6th riot was led by violent left-wing protesters trying to make Trump look bad. That's pretty interesting that 9% think that it's definitely, or 9% of Democrats strongly agree with that statement. That really, really interests me. That really interests me. And then, in your opinion, it is the government makes it easier for people to vote. Oh, very important. Very important. So Republicans say 29% believe that it should be easier to vote. 68% of Democrats. That's actually kind of interesting. It's a lie. The government place, in your opinion, it is something, I don't understand what this statement is trying to say, but the government placed new limits on voting to protect elections from fraud. Now, this is a broad statement. To place new limits on voting to protect elections from fraud. What does that mean? This is why I hate polls. This is one of the reasons why I hate polls, because the language is important, and they use vague language here on purpose so that, how are you supposed to answer? You're supposed to go, well, I want the government to do something about fraud. So of course people are going to answer in the affirmative. I mean, look, even Democrats, 31% want more controls or new limits on voting to protect elections from fraud. And again, I would like to go back and look at the numbers from the Russia collusion bullshit that was going on 5 years ago, because this can be vast. In fact, I would wager that like the 60% here would be like 90% for Democrats the other way around, if that were the case. States have the right to set their own election laws. In your opinion, that is very important. It's actually a pretty good split there, what I would expect. So I'm still trying to find. So, okay. Who do you think the true president is right now? This is what I was looking for. All this other garbage is like blah, 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 blah. But the whole point of this 53% of Republicans trend is that apparently 53% of Republicans think that Donald Trump is the president. So here it is, right here, 53%. Who do you think the true president is right now? Why would Democrats any Democrats say that Trump was? That's kind of strange, don't you think? 53% of Republicans, 22% of independents. That's pretty interesting. So that's all this. That's all I needed to see, right? Except when you get down into here. These are some of the findings of an Ipsos poll conducted between May 17th and 19th, 2021 on behalf of Thomson Reuters. For this survey, a sample of 2007 adults age 18 plus from the continental U.S., Alaska, and Hawaii was interviewed online. That's the key word. Online. When was the last time you trusted anybody with information online? That they gave you some information A random person, not somebody that you know about or you've had a chance to sit down and talk to or get to know a little better, or somebody, some random person online. Let's say they post on a message forum. You've never seen this guy's name, and they say the moon is made of cheese. You gonna believe them? Really? Because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet, a ton. And it's mostly people that like to mess with other people. For the most part, look at like 4chan, for example, right? Remember the whole like white power symbol thing? That was a 4chan thing. That wasn't reality. This isn't a white power symbol. This is okay. It's always been okay. And 4chan spread this thing around about look out for the white power symbol. And the media picked up on it, and now it's a fact, even though it has no basis in any fact whatsoever, because some random person on the internet said so. An online poll is about as indicative of anything as nothing. What's I gotta turn this on again. Online poll. So I have a lot of conservative friends. I have a lot of liberal friends. I have a lot of Republican friends and libertarian friends and Democrat friends and even socialist friends. Believe it or not, I get along with socialists and liberals. But what's interesting about that group of friends is we're all a bunch of jokesters. We all like to yuck it up and have a lot of fun. And I can guarantee you at least half of these people, both sides, but at least half of these people would purposefully give bogus answer to a pollster online just to have some fun. Absolutely. I know I would. I do. I've done it before. Why not? I've said I'm a Democrat on these online polls before because I was really more interested in seeing what the results of the poll were. Because, a lot of these polls, you go through the poll or whatever, and at the end, you kind of get a glimpse at the results. And so I basically do that just because. And I'm an honest person for the most part. No, I'm pretty honest. In fact, it's hard for me to lie. My face shows it very well when I lie. Yeah, that's my bullshit unicorn, sigh. It's my bullshit. Well, I'm using my bullshit unicorn whenever I see bullshit or I detect bullshit. So yeah, so I saw this trend and I'm like, it's bullshit. And it's right there in the very first sentence of the about the study section of this poll. And then, again, we go back to this guy who is the CEO. He's the chairman, and he's basically a social justice warrior, basically a virtue signaling lefty. And sure, Ipsos is going to be completely unbiased. Why not? Why not? So here's another interesting Ipsos poll. 2016 U.S. pre-elections, Clinton has a 90% chance of winning. I'm just going to let that one sink in for a minute. So Ipsos, who's, they're data people. They know data, right? This is clearly Clinton is going to win the election in 2016. That didn't happen. By the way, I was one of those people that firmly believed that Clinton was going to win. The minute that Donald Trump won the primary, I was like, crap, we're going to have Hillary Clinton as president. Holy shit. And when I woke up that next morning, that Wednesday morning, and I was like, what the hell happened? Must have been the Russians. But it was folks like these, which was, again, most pollsters got this wrong, but Ipsos is obviously fallible. Especially, it's online polling. It's online polling. So that was a little bit of that interesting. So I find all this extremely interesting because apparently only the right is, stupid like this, apparently. And that goes back to, what we were looking at. Wrong one. What we were looking at over here with and I've got to get my workflow in. I've changed up so many things on my workflow, so I've got to get back in the swing of things. But it explains. I mean, you go look at this, at what's going on with this trend. These are dangerous numbers that are completely based on a lie. Oh, this person is basically calling this study out. But so here's another one, another meme. You're a president. The billionaire who hides his tax returns. The genius who hides his college grades. The businessman who bankrupted a casino. The playboy who pays for sex. The Christian who doesn't go to church. There's a lot of those, by the way. The philanthropist who defrauds charity. The patriot who dodged the draft. The innocent man who refuses to testify. See, look, here we go. 53% of Republicans who still think Trump is president. We're apparently all Confederates. 53% of Republicans believe that Donald Trump is the true president right now. In a related story, I do not care what white nationalists think. You see, this is what they think about Republicans. But what I find extremely interesting about all of this, specifically, is that we're not the only ones, or Republicans are not the only ones that think stupid shit. So I don't know if you've ever watched Bill Maher. He has a show, Politically Incorrect. Is that what it's called now? I still think it's called Politically Incorrect, on HBO, and he's a big time lefty. He's a leftist. He's not a liberal. He's a leftist. He's borderline socialist. But he recently, as early as April, called out the left when it comes to the whole coronavirus thing. Almost 70% of Democrats are wildly off on the fundamental question of how many cases of COVID lead to hospitalizations. This is Maher talking about this. Between 1 and 5%, by the way, is the correct answer. 28% of Democrats polled said 20 to 49% are hospitalized. COVID patients are hospitalized. 41% of Democrats think 50% or more of COVID leads to hospitalization. Again, the number is 1 to 5%. That's a margin of error of 1,000%. 1,000% margin of error. So you're going to tell me that Republicans are stupid by some stupid poll? But when you see stuff like this? Or how about when it comes to unarmed black men being killed by police? This is always a really interesting one, right? So the left, if you were to believe the left on such a matter, you would think unarmed black men are being hunted down in the streets by police officers. That's what you would think. But what's interesting is that they really do believe that. There was a poll taken last year about unarmed black men killed by police in 2019. And very liberal people who identified as very liberal said about 100 at a clip of about 30%, said that about 31% of the people said there was about 100 unarmed black people murdered by police. At a higher number of 1,000 murdered, about 1,000 people murdered by police, that's about 34% roughly said that. That's interesting. People who identify as liberal, that number kind of shifts a little bit, but they still think about 100 or about 1,000. The real number is about 10 in 2019. Now, it depends on the case, right? Some people think it's like closer to 7, some people closer to 12, 13, but it's about 10. Should be 0, by the way. That's neither here nor there. A liberal, or what they consider very liberal here in this particular poll, believes that thousands of black people are being murdered in the streets. Unarmed black people are being murdered in the streets by cops. And it's based on nothing. And again, look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. It's really, really remarkable. Now, what's even more remarkable is how well very conservative and conservative people answer this question. In the about 10 category, about 45% or 46% of very conservative people think that about 10 were murdered by cops. About 46% of conservative people think about 10. And they're right in more ways than one. Yes, in fairness, they weren't all murders. That is correct. You are correct, Alex, and I stand corrected. That's absolutely right. Because some of them are justified. Some of them are not. And those people should be, they should be turned into Derek Chauvin's. Like Derek Chauvin, we all know was guilty of a crime. We're not going to get into that one. So yeah, the numbers bear this out. You can't sit there and make up stuff like 53% of Republicans think Donald Trump is the actual president and expect anybody to believe it, especially when you see it's an online poll. Hey, Nailbender, I'm going to ask you directly, since you're eyeballing me. Are you eyeballing me, boy? Do you think Donald Trump is the president? The actual president. You think he's the actual president? Alex, do you think Donald Trump is the actual president? I will wait. I will wait for that answer. Because he's not. He's not the president. He lost. Was there some funny business going on in some of the elections across the country? There was.
I've added cross country to your shopping list.
So my good friend Alexa over here just started adding stuff to my shopping list. That's interesting. I forgot to mute Alexa. So Nailbender Mike says, no, unfortunately, Biden won. Cluffy says, no, I do not. I can guarantee you, if you were to walk up to people on the street in person, ask them what political party they're a part of, they say Republican, great. You ask them the question. Guarantee you, 90% of them will say that Donald Trump is not the president. Because online polling is online polling. It's about as accurate as it's not accurate. It's just not going to be accurate. It never will be. As you can tell by the 2016 pre-election Clinton poll having a 90% chance of winning. How did that work out? So, again, I call bullshit on this poll. It's complete fabrication. It's as accurate as an SJW. This is so true. 93% of are annoying 100% of the time. Yes. Yes. Those numbers are real. Those numbers are absolutely real. So my... Yeah, and that's actually a good point, Nail. Most Republicans won't admit they're Republicans at the moment. So you didn't catch the beginning of the show. I will fully admit I am not a Republican. In fact, I proudly wear my partyless, tag on my sleeve, on my heart. I am partyless. I am without a party. There is not a party that represents me. Doesn't even come close. There's not one that even comes close. Maybe libertarian, maybe in some cases, but for the most part, not even close. Yeah, Alex gets his stats online. I'm waiting for Alexa to respond to that. She did not. Good. Um, yeah, online stats are the best. They're the absolute best. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and we're going to go back beyond 280. So I had to get that off my chest. Like I said, that was bugging me all day. I've been wanting to talk about that all day. So let's see if we can find something maybe more interesting that is trending right now and that we can actually talk about for the next 10 minutes or so. Again, with my workflow. I got to fix this workflow. So here's some of the trending stuff today. College in 6 words. Not interested. Elliot Page. Oh. Oh boy. Do I really want to look at this picture? I don't know if I really want. Should I put a warning label on this? Here, I'm gonna. Oh. Oh my. Okay. So if you don't know who Elliot Page is, that's Ellen Page. Oh, there we go. Pan Visibility Day. So apparently it's pansexual and pan-romantic awareness and visibility day. Promotes and celebrates the pansexual, pan-romantic, and pansgender community. Are those 3 different things? Lindsay Lohan. Boring. Here's that 53. It's number 5. 53% of Republicans is number 5 right now. Oh, and this actually, here's the original tweet. Yeah, that's not biased at all. Not at all. All right. Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is 80 years old. Holy moly. For Bob Dylan's 80th birthday, we've compiled our list of the 80 greatest covers of his songs. That's because all the covers are better than his originals. I'm gonna piss some people off. This isn't a little to the right. This is just me commenting on music. There are 2 artists, extremely popular artists, musicians, that I find to be the most overrated living artists. The most overrated. Now, some people sit think, the Beatles were overrated or the Rolling Stones were overrated. No, I'm talking about individuals here. The first one is Bruce Springsteen. I think Bruce Springsteen is extremely overrated. I don't get why anybody likes his music. I don't understand it. He can't sing. He's a moderately okay guitar player. His songs are kind of... He writes some decent lyrics, I guess, but... And then the other guy is Bob Dylan. Super duper, just unbelievably overrated. In fact, he is so overrated that he gets my bullshit unicorn. As an artist, I fully expect you to be able to sing and to play an instrument or multiple instruments extremely well. If you're going to be, considered like a legend, right? Now, there are some people like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's got an interesting voice. It's not a good voice, but it fits what he does. But he makes up for that with amazing guitar playing. He belongs where he is in the pantheon of artists. Bob Dylan does not. Bob Dylan is a great lyricist. He's a great poet. There's no doubt about that. None whatsoever about that. And he can probably craft a decent song or 2, but that's where it ends. He's a songwriter. Now, if you want to talk about legendary songwriter, okay, I can probably get behind that because guess what? All the covers that Bob Dylan songs are all pretty darn good. They're 1,000 times better than the ones he originally recorded. That's for sure. Yeah, Nailbender. Springsteen is fucking horrible. No, hey Cluffy, no. Morrissey is not overrated. He's some people are kind of cultish about him, but he is not overrated. So he also came from a wealthy, middle-class suburban family. This man of the people, down-home Detroit nonsense was completely made up. Exactly. And SRV, one of my all-time favorite artists, mine too. And I just froze. I got to fix that. Anyways. Yeah, so Stevie Ray Vaughan, amazing. Again, doesn't have the greatest voice, right? But he completely makes up for that with his guitar playing and with his his instrumentation in general, the arrangement of the songs, that sort of thing. But Bob Dylan is wildly overrated. Yeah, Bob Dylan definitely sucks too. But you got to admit, there's some great versions of his songs out there. In fact, let's go and take a quick look at Rolling Stone's articles here about the greatest Dylan covers of all time. I'm going to turn off my bullshit unicorn and let's go take a look at these. Oh, and this is going to look a little weird when I shrink this down, I bet. Yeah, these stupid ads. Urgh, go away. All right. Let's see. What do we got? William Shatner did Mr. Tambourine Man. That's interesting. That's probably better than the original. Going, Gone. The Dead Weather. I don't even know who the Dead Weather is. Jenny Lewis. Is that Jenny Lewis or is that Jimmy Lewis? The Dream Syndicate. An 80s band there. Ministry did a version of Lay Lady Lay. That's interesting. So let's actually get down to like the top 10 or top 8 in this case. Because these will be the really, really good ones. The Byrds, you ain't going... Now, the Byrds were an amazing group. And yes, their version... And I'm going to close this. Sorry, all these ads popping up. That's a good version. Let's see what Sam Cooke. More talent in his little finger than Bob Dylan had in his entire lifetime. An amazing singer. George Harrison. I don't even have to say anything about George Harrison. Guns N' Roses. Now, I'm not huge on Guns N' Roses. I like a couple of songs from them from the early days, but that particular cover, Knocking on Heaven's Door, was actually pretty damn good. And it's far better than his version, that's for sure. Tomorrow's a Long Time by Elvis Presley. Again, more talent in his little finger than Bob Dylan displayed in a lifetime. And then again, the Byrds. Byrds really dug Dylan. They did Mr. Tambourine Man, which is a very famous cover. Nina Simone, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues. I'm not sure I've heard this version. I guess we could play it. Not sure if y'all can hear that or not. Probably not. Because it's not coming from Chrome. So I got to fix that. So, but anyways, it sounds pretty good if you've never heard it. And then, of course, the number one Dylan cover, All Along the Watchtower. Yes. Again, Jimi Hendrix. Like in that little dot of Jenny, like this was Jimi Hendrix's finger. That little dot right there, that's Bob Dylan. Now he recognized a great song that was written by a not so great artist. And so that's why there's so many damn good covers of Bob Dylan, because these are people that go, hey, man, I freaking love the lyrics to this song. Yeah, it's such a shame that Bob Dylan had to write it. I'm going to make it better, and I'm just going to re-record it. That's Bob Dylan's legacy. Now, I guess that would mean that Bruce Springsteen probably is the worst of the two, because how many people really go and cover Bruce Springsteen songs? Not very many. Not very many. Hall & Oates, Dreams Come True. I like Hall & Oates. I do like some Hall & Oates. So anyways, that's what's going on with Bob Dylan. He's trending. So 80 years old. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. In my backyardist. I don't know what that means. Alaska bucket list. This is probably some sort of advertisement. Let's see. A lot of these trends are advertisements. Yep. I was right. Alaska Airlines. So I'm going to skip it. What's R-Hop? Season 6. What is this? What's this ridiculousness? R-Hop. Oh, is this Real Housewives of something? Oh, Real Housewives of the Potomac. Why is this trending? I don't know. Dylan was the Marmite of musicians. You either love him or you hate him. But as a writer, there's no denying the man's talent. Exactly. He's got amazing poetic and lyrical ability. That's all I got to say about that. Again, Lindsay Lohan, who cares? The Eternals. So I did a little tiny bit about Disney and Marvel on one of my previous streams, and one of the guys I follow on YouTube had a very interesting take on the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, and fully believes that the Eternals is going to tank because apparently it's being used as a vehicle for social justice warriors. So, and if that's the case, then I am not interested. But I did watch the trailer today. If you haven't gotten a chance to see it, go check it out if you're a Marvel fan. Let me know what you think. But outside of this, this whole specter of social justice warrior potential platform stuff, it looks kind of lame. It just does not look like a good movie. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about Marvel movies. I was wrong about Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be stupid. And I was wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's see. Times Square. New Yorkers react to mayoral candidate Andrew Yang. Mr. Yang. Let me give you $2,000 and you can vote for me. Telling Showtime's host Z-Way that his favorite subway stop is Times Square. Is that supposed to be a bad thing? Maybe I don't know enough about Times Square. Okay, I guess you got to be a New Yorker to get this one. Anybody been to New York and understand why this is somehow outrageous or why it would be trending? I don't know. Okay, Alex. I'm afraid you're going to have to zip it. Because Johnny Cash was pretty awesome. He was definitely ahead of his time in more ways than one. But that's okay. Everybody's got their opinion. Let's see. After a piece of fan art depicting Dora the Explorer went viral, some are mistaking it for a new version of the animated series. Wonka. Oh, give me a break. So they're going to do a Willy Wonka origin tale film. Boring. Hollywood cannot come up with anything new. They just can't. All this talent squished in that little area called Hollywood, and they're coming up with a Willy Wonka origin story. And don't get me wrong, I freaking love the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I kind of like Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but we don't need more. Don't need it. Bitcoin Mining Council. I don't know anything about Bitcoin, so we'll skip that. Wondering about this when this was going to come up. Oh, hold on. Going a little to the right. So Peter Doocy repeatedly grills White House Press Secretary Jim Psaki. Psaki is the P silent? I don't know. On the Wall Street Journal story alleging 3 Wuhan Institute of Virology employees became so ill in November 2019 that they ended up in the hospital. Doocy presses on why Biden administration isn't pressing China harder. I want to know this too. Psaki, last answer pretty much surmised how the Biden White House feels about China and their COVID origins. I think the family members of the loved ones whose lives have been lost and deserve accurate informational data, not jumping to a conclusion. Who's jumping to a conclusion? There's smoke. Let's go investigate if there's fire. You know what? This sucks because this was working earlier. So, yeah, this is bullshit detector here. So the Biden White House, or as Alex puts it, former Vice President Joe Biden, does not want to ruffle any Chinese feathers. That's what this is about. There is mounting evidence and mounting suspicions that Wuhan laboratory is responsible for COVID-19. And this isn't some conspiracy theory. These are just things that people want answers to, and we have not gotten any answers. And the answers we have gotten have all been vague or missing data, or so yeah. This is if 3 people got sick in November of 2019 that worked at that lab and they were hospitalized, that to me, that's smoke. To me, that is smoke. What is up, Elo? By the way, I want to thank Dr. Elo, since he's here, for inspiring me to create the bullshit unicorn. Thank you, Dr. Elo. You inspired me with your dancing unicorn. And so now I've got the bullshit unicorn. I appreciate that. And that's another thing. That's what's so amazing about the Creators Guild. The Creators Guild right there. You're going to hear this. Right there. Join us now at thecreatorsguild.app. No, actually do. Come. This is the sort of thing that I got inspired. In fact, I got inspired to reboot my show because of the Creators Guild. So thank you to everybody at the Creators Guild. Come check us out. It's free. Totally free. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I've got somewhere to be here pretty shortly. So I am going to take off. I really thank everybody for coming, hanging out with me today. Again, my schedule has changed. I stream on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central now. And then I do have a podcast in the works, and it will be released on Friday. In fact, every Friday, I will be releasing a brand new podcast episode. So be on the lookout for that. As always, you can buy me a coffee if you find this information riveting or not, or if you just think I'm full of bullshit. But you can always buy me a coffee if you want to support me. If not, no big whoop. And again, I'm on YouTube 100% now, starting after today. So please subscribe, hit the bell so you know when I'm going live, because while I do have a set schedule, I may be popping in occasionally with an interview. So I'm hoping that's happening this week. We shall see. But thank you so much for coming and enjoying my afternoon with me. Have a great night. Bye-bye.